Chapter 3. Part 3. He observed that the weapon with which he had been executed was still embedded in his side. It was not a normal dagger. It was very beautifully workmanship, had a gold hilt, and on the pommel had been engraved in ivory a lion in an attack position. The blade was also beautifully crafted and had a razor-sharp edge, a lethal weapon in the right hands. The one who caused this massacre is the general of the legion, Agnoruk. Agnoruk raised his head. The one who spoke to him was Princess Nasmarina, the one who had once wanted to sneak into the chambers of Aris, now wearing combat armor and was smiling at the Agnoruk, who showed the dagger to the princess. Nasmarina examined him. She knew the general very well. Since the princess, thanks to her beauty and above all her intelligence, was sent by her father as an ambassador to the Republic to request its help against the alliance, Demebra's request was rejected. But that did not prevent her from being invited to some of the famous parties held by the senatorial families, some of them sympathetic to the cause of Demembra and its gems. On some evening he coincided with General Adrian, who always carried that knife visible. It seemed to be one of his favorites. Nasmarina was also a skilled warrior and loved her father very much. In the defense of the palace she had established herself as a competent captain, and together with Loranthus they had led the attack after the collapse of the wall. Even so, she was next to the hero of the blood mines and admired how Agnoruk was able to mourn the death of any soldier. The princess knelt in front of the corpses. General Adrian would be furious. He can't stand to lose. It is not dignified to end someone like this. Nasmarina smiled at the Agnoruk. It is an Agnoruk war. The honor only remains for the bards and scholars when they write their books. Adrian wants to send a message. He wants my father dead. Agnoruk put the dagger away, placing it on his belt. Then I will return it to its owner, princess. Agnoruk, General Adrian de Paulo is big game hunter. The Agnoruk smiled before answering. But hunting, after all. They spent the next day in the palace of Demembra. King Dasmir and Loranthus informed Debok and the rest of their adventures during the siege. Fortunately the army of Scythia was not prepared to attack a fortress. Only when the other armies of the League arrived as reinforcements and under the efficient command of General Adrian was when the situation became critical, but fortune had helped them. But they could not stop. Now they had to liberate the Black Castle where the troops under the command of Aris were located, so they knew the situation was under control. The Black Castle was much more impregnable than the royal palace since the latter had not been designed to withstand a siege. Debok decided to return to Kazmin with part of the forces. The kingdom had to be protected from a future attack. It was decided that a good part of the army of the League would accompany Agnoruk and Kush to liberate the Black Castle. Troops from Demembra commanded by Princess Nasmarina would also go. They set off the next day, as always using Vanus as a messenger by tapping into her Kendali qualities. Thus, when the Kendali presented itself to Aris, it gave it a letter with Debok's orders and also updated it with the latest news on the general situation of the war. Aris was an extraordinary tactician. He had prepared the castle very well to withstand the siege, and seeing that the arrival of the army of the League gave them a momentary advantage, it was best not to waste it. He made a pact with Agnoruk and Kush that his advance would be moderate and feigned some weakness in front of the besiegers, all to provoke their attack. They wanted to do the same maneuver as in the Demembra palace. But the troops besieging the Black Castle had received the news of the arrival of the army of the League. The alliance did not want to suffer a new defeat in a place that was not strategically essential to the course of the war. So a few days before Agnoruk's army arrived, they abandoned their positions and retreated to the south. So when they arrived at the Black Castle, Kush and Agnoruk were greeted by Aris and his cousins without much news. The war then entered a phase of false truce. There were some skirmishes in the southeast but little, and the bulk of the army was placed in the most central position of the kingdom, Kazmin. There the spies were talking about a reorganization of the alliance army. They had received reinforcements, and this time it seemed that they had chosen to advance as a single block instead of dividing into different factions. They are looking for a great battle, De Boek said as he looked at the map. The war is dragging on too long for everyone. The soldiers are starting to get tired of so much fighting. It is said that in Albion support for the war begins to be questioned. We should give them what they want. Aris added. I don't think it's a good option. King Dasmir was quite reluctant to conflicts in the open field. It's actually the best option, if we let winter come. They can be reinforced, we cannot. I doubt that we will get more troops from the League, and also many of them will not want to stay another year. Even if we have a numerical disadvantage now, it will be much worse next year. A victory in a battle would totally demoralize them. The risk is high if we lose. Gosberg, who was sitting drinking and smoking, ignoring what they were talking about, quit smoking. Your grandfather, the first king of the Dasmir dynasty, risked everything, and that's why he won the war. Nothing else was needed, as if they were the orders of a general. Gosberg's words were the last spur to corroborate the decision. It will be done as you wish, a decisive battle.